Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and I'm here today to talk to you about, can Sydney Sweeney have her cake and eat it too? So, Sydney Sweeney is a very interesting celebrity that is always coming under fire for controversy when she actually never really says anything or does anything to anybody else. It's normally things that are associated with her that causes the controversy. And that's quite interesting and stuff because I've never really seen a celebrity who comes under fire so much like online for never saying anything and never physically doing anything to anybody. But this video is about, can she have her cake and eat it too, in the acting business and stuff. And I will touch on some slight controversial stuff that people get pissed off about her about, like, her family and the Jean commercial that came out. But this video will mostly just be about her acting career, because I'm very curious to know what exactly is she gonna do with it. Because, like, there seems to be two different versions of Sydney Sweeney. There's one that everybody can see, which is the sexual version of her, where she's always taking like sexy, selfies and everything. And when she's out and about with her friends, like, her cleavage is always out. When she going to like red carpets, her cleavage is always out. And how Hollywood and the entertainment business and advertisement are always overly sexualizing her and stuff. But then there is the other version, who's just a regular like person who, like, can fix a car and everything. Or like when she is in certain movies, like indie movies and stuff, there's no sexual exploitation of any kind, mostly because, like, when she stars in these other movies and stuff, she is completely toned down to where you wouldn't even really recognize her and stuff. And so that is quite fascinating that there are two different versions of her, and both of them likes to make money. But which one exactly is the real one, and which one is the one that, like, she uses just to get like more money and stuff? It's quite fascinating and it's hard to figure out. And I've been a person who's followed her ever since, like, she was on this Netflix show and stuff. And the Netflix show is actually called Everything Sucks. Weird title, I know. I've never really reviewed that show because it's on Netflix. I don't do Netflix. It's been a long time since I watched it, but I do remember like a lot of details from that show. I just never really wanted to talk about it. And plus, if I am ever going to talk about it, I want to get my bearings on it and rewatch it and stuff. But this was the very first project I've ever seen her in. This is when she was in her early 20s and stuff. And she played a bad girl. So basically, she played the queen bee, the mean girl of the school. And this show, just like every other project she's almost in, sexually exploited her and everything, starting with like the very first episode. So her character was dating this guy, and I never understood why her character would date this guy. He's kind of this emo, flamboyant theater kid, and she was the mean girl and everything, who for some reason sometimes would dress ghetto and wear black hairstyles. I never understood that. But this show was set in the 90s and stuff. And so there's this one girl who is closeted, and she was looking at Sydney's character a little too long when they was in like the girls' locker room. Sydney's character notices and is all like, what, you like boobs or something like that? Or you like a lesbian or something like that? So she starts to like taunt this girl and everything and make fun of her and bully her. all beknownst to the audience, Sydney's character was closeted herself. This was her way to deflect off her lesbianism by attacking this girl. We've seen it so many times before. It happens with a lot of toxic guys online. They keep talking about how they hate the LGBT. They're going to hunt them down and everything. Yes, one guy literally said that online. And this guy is now in jail because they found out he had a profile where he was trying to get little boys and stuff. See, it's always the loudest person that screams when they're about something that they actually are. And so, like, at some point in time, her character started to, like, befriend this closeted girl. They started to date, this and that. And all throughout the show, when she wasn't covered up, they will constantly have her in her bra and underwear and stuff. And like, you know, mostly in like locker room scenes and everything. Now, this is a show that depicts high school. And they will always show this girl in her underwear and everything because sex sells and people are horny. And so ever since the very beginning, she's always been sexually exploited by Hollywood and everything. Now, I have mentioned one thing about this show. When I talked about like my fan casting for Supergirl, Sydney Sweeney at one point, I said there's only, at that time, there was really only one thing that bothered me about her, and that's when the show got canceled, which I was pissed off about. But it's something Sydney said on Instagram. Now, it's been many years, and I don't have time to go through her Instagram to grab like the quote and everything. So I'm just gonna paraphrase and everything. Basically, she was heartbroken that the show got canceled, and she really wanted to explore the relationship of her character and this other character and see how they will grow together. Nothing bad about that. The only problem I had with that, which I mentioned before, is that Sydney Sweeney was in her early 20s playing a high school girl, and the character that played her love interest was an actual teenager playing an actual teenager. So I had a problem with Sydney Sweeney, an adult, kissing that of a minor, and who else, like whatever else they was gonna do if the show would have continued and everything. And I found it very odd that she really wanted to explore things with this character, knowing that she's an adult and knowing her co-star is an underage. It's just kind of creepy. But anyways, after that show got canceled, she went on to Euphoria. Now, I've never seen Euphoria, so I can't even comment on that. But from what I've heard, she's sexually exploited in that as well. After that, I kind of forgot she even, like, you know, existed. Because I haven't watched anything with her until Immaculate. I can't talk right now. Immaculate. And so like that got me back on her radar again. Then, you know, there was like controversy with like her family and some other stuff and bathwater soap and stuff like that. But the thing about Immaculate that I found fascinating is that she produced it and everything. Not only did she produce it, but it's from a film company she founded called Fitty Fitty Films. That's an interesting name. And she founded it in 2020. And so she has starred in 3 of the films that like she has produced by that company: Immaculate, Christie, which is going to be that boxing movie that she's in, and something called Anybody But You. I have no idea what that's about. But one thing I have found fascinating about her is that when she does tend to star in movies, she produces her own, and also a couple of others, she is very toned down. It's almost like you're looking at a completely different person, and she doesn't want to be typecast as like this over sexually person. So that made me kind of wonder about her. Does she not like being sexually exploited? Some women do, some women don't. Some women like being on a high pedestal. Take Sofia Vergara, for example. She loves her body. She thinks the woman's gorgeous, sexy, you know what I'm saying? And Katie Couric got on to her talking about, oh look, they got her on a pedestal at this award show, and she clapped back saying she wants to be on that pedestal and everything. So she is a person who very much wants to be complimented on how she looks and this and that. Because one time the paparazzi caught her without makeup and some sweats on, and we've never seen her like that since. She makes sure that if you're gonna take a picture of her, she's dolled up and everything. She's also like one of those people who loves money, and she wants a rich man, and her man cannot make less money than her. So this made me start to think, I guess Sydney doesn't like flaunting her body around, but what's up with all these pictures you constantly see, right? And so she wants to be taken as like a serious actress, you know what I'm saying, and not get typecast. Now, in that movie with Glenn Powell, I think Anybody But You, yeah, she was in a bikini, but I think they was like in a beach pool type area, so that makes sense. But like in these other movies, she's not being like her typical bouncy self, if you know what I'm talking about. And so that is something that's pretty cool. It's kind of like, hey, look at me. You know, I have this amazing body. I dress this way, but I want to be like a serious actress and stuff, you know? But then there is that other side of her. And it's mostly Hollywood who overly sexualizes her and stuff. Take the Madam Web movie. The movie bombed big time, right? Big time. Now, she was covered up in the movie and everything. But when the movie bombed and the lead actress did not want to promote the movie other than just like talking smack about it, I noticed something odd happen. Sydney Sweeney started posting all of these sexy pictures with her, sometimes with her costume on, sometimes with her costume off, just the mask, or like something like that. And I'm just kind of like, why is she doing this in the movie Bombed? Everybody's trying to forget this. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, wait. The studio must have told her, hey, we need people to get their butts in the seats and watch this movie in the theater if there's anything you can do. So, of course, what did she do? Here she is with the sexy pictures. I'm assuming that's how it went and everything. Because even Emma Watson defended that movie, and there's no defending that movie and stuff. And so then there comes to like other advertisement and stuff. When it comes to other movies and television shows and even commercial advertisement, you always, and I mean always see Sydney dressing provocative and everything, looking steamy, looking sexy, and you know, and flaunting her boobs and flaunting her butt and posing in very sexual type ways and everything. This is Hollywood in the entertainment business way of trying to get people to buy their product and everything, and they're doing it with sex. This is the oldest like tradition in like Hollywood and stuff. I remember one time, it's like Booking.com with Tina Fey. Sydney was in that, but you couldn't really quite tell it was her because she had sunglasses on and she was slightly covered up, but something was sticking out. I can't remember what it was. Cause I can't find that commercial nowhere on YouTube. I can't even find a picture of it. But you know, she said her line, and then I noticed something. When she said her line in her very sexy way, she gave this really huge wink and a really huge smile and everything. And that was my way of her kind of like playing around, being like, hey, you know, I might be here for like, you know, to look like hot and everything, but look how goofy I look and everything. Then, of course, you know, when she was on SNL, they said that was her who asked to do like all those sexual jokes and all this other stuff and like the clothes and stuff like that. It's like she's a brand, kind of like The Rock. If you want to sell like a movie or something, you hire The Rock, even though The Rock can't act. When you want to sell something, you call Sydney Sweeney and her boobs come out and everything. Well, cleavage-wise, that is. They don't actually come out now. But they are popping. And I've noticed that because like that was that whole bathwater thing where it was just kind of gross. She's selling her dirty bathwater and putting it in soap and people want to buy that. Kind of like, what's wrong with y'all and stuff. But these advertising people know that, hey, the best way to get eyes on their product is to have some type of sex appeal to it. And that is the one thing that's very confusing. It's kind of like, okay, she wants to be taken as like serious, like a serious actress, and when she does red carpets, she wears the sexiest outfit possible. And when she does out advertisement and other stuff, she's as sexy as possible. Like, which one does she actually want, or does she want both? Does she want her cake and eat it too? And she can do whatever the heck she wants, and more power to her if she can like manipulate that system and everything, because it's kind of like, I truly do feel like she wants to be taken serious, and she doesn't always want to be half naked and having everybody look at her, but she realizes that she has a body on her, like an amazing one, and it can help make some extra money and stuff, because the film studio that she owns, it's not going to pay for itself. Some extra money helps out and everything. It's kind of like a little hustle game and everything. And there are other celebrities who do that as well. Kim Kardashian, she flaunts and exploits her body because she knows she has no talent and stuff. Tons of singers, they do that. Like Ariana Grande, Nicki Minaj, Britney Spears used to do it back in the day. But then a lot of those singers, they still dress sexy whenever you see them out and about. Because it's kind of like they can't be nothing else but that. Are they that, or is that their brand? Who really knows, And so, like, it's one of those things where she can be to people like, hey, I kind of want my cake and eat it too. I like being sexy, but I also want to be taken serious. But that can also backfire, because then people are kind of like, we don't know how we should take you. Should we take you seriously, or should we get a bunch of dollar bills and put them down your cleavage and everything? Like, what do we do? Like, what I'm saying? And then what about like younger people? Well, let's say younger people, let's say they don't see none of her sexually exploited stuff. Maybe they see the toned down stuff, like this Christie movie that's coming out with the boxing lady and stuff. What if they get inspired by that, and then all of a sudden they stumble upon her other work and everything, and either the parent is upset or the child's kind of like, wow, I thought you was my hero, and look at how you're dressing, or kind of like, or maybe I should dress like that as well. So that's something she does need to consider at some point in time. And I personally don't see her being a role model to little kids. She's left that like teeny bopper Disney type phase. I think she was in like one Disney show or something like that. But she's been left that behind. So I don't really see nothing like that happening. Because other celebrities like Miley Cyrus, that's all people saw her as, is my Hannah Montana and stuff like that. And so I don't think she'll be a role model in that regard. But there are older people who look up to celebrities as well and stuff like that, and who could feel insecure and things like that. And it is kind of one of those things where it's kind of gonna be like, okay, the more you keep taking off your clothes in movies and advertisement and like photos and everything, other studios are gonna typecast her. You know what I'm saying? They're not gonna take her seriously because they're not gonna want to take her seriously and stuff. And it's gonna have to be one of those things where she's gonna have to put her foot down and make a choice and everything. Be who you want to be, but if this is your profession, you kind of do have to pick one or the other. Yes, if she does pick the more serious route, then a lot of people in Hollywood are not going to be banging down her door as much as before. And that's something she really needs to think about, because when you have this dual personality kind of, one side is going to favor one more than the other. So that means if she does continue to produce her stuff and she continues to tone down, she better give the performance of a lifetime. You know what I'm saying? Because look at a couple of other celebrities like Jessica Alba. I just got done watching Idle Hands for the first time in my life. That's an awesome movie, and I can't wait to talk about it in October. And so, like, but one thing I noticed about that movie is that not only is Jessica barely in that movie, but when she is in it, she's sexually exploited. And Jessica was 17 years old at that time, and they have her playing like the dumb blonde type person, who's just really cute and hot. But then they always put her in these sexy outfits and everything, acting like a dumb blonde. Then you get the third act, and she's strapped down to a car, and then all of a sudden her outfit gets ripped off and she's just in her bra and underwear at 17 years old. And that was literally done because Hollywood saw her as a hot commodity and eye candy. Then she made out with the dude in her bra and underwear at 17 years old as he's filling her up and his hand slightly touches her hip butt area, but quickly moves away from it at 17 years old. And I don't know what none of her projects were like before. I know she was in like Flipper or something like that when she was a kid. And I think she was in some type of baseball movie at one point when she was a teenager. But she was in some teen movie, which I had no idea she was in. But then after that, she kind of stepped away from that teen vibe. And then after Idle Hands, she booked Dark Angel, where she was a street tough, like, girl boss with superpowers and everything. And she toned completely down by the way she dressed. However, after that movie, more movies came around. It opened the door for her. But Hollywood, remember, she's mega eye candy. Now, I like Jessica Alba, and I think she can do a pretty good acting job depending on what the project is, but she doesn't have much range. So Hollywood constantly kept seeing her as eye candy. When she was in the Fantastic Four movies, in both movies, they stripped her down to her bra and underwear, which she said she hated. Then she was in Sin City, which I never saw, but she dressed and looked like a bra-looking tank top type outfit, and then some pants and some other stuff. And so I don't know what really her character was about in that. Then she was in Honey, and then after a while, she put her foot down and she said, "No more." Now, when you see her in movies and TV shows, she don't strip down no more. She is fully covered up. She owns her own like makeup type business type thing. You know, she has a family now. She still takes sexy pictures and advertisement and stuff, but she is toned down and she allows her sexual nature to come out in her face and in her pose while being completely covered up. Sydney Sweeney could very well do the exact same thing if she wanted to, but she doesn't for some reason. And I think I heard somewhere that Sydney said something about her acting range isn't like the greatest, and she knows that she can do more projects because of the way she looks and her boobs and stuff like that. Another actress is Serena Vincent, best known for Power Rangers, Not Another Teen Movie, and a bunch of like horror movies and stuff. After Power Rangers, she did Not Another Teen Movie where she stripped completely naked, where you saw her boobs, and in a deleted scene, you saw her butt, and that was it. After that, Hollywood said, yeah, let's get her naked. And almost every project she was in after that, she was completely nude. And she stated one time for that Cabin Fever movie, she had to literally put her foot down and said, I'm not getting naked no more, which the director was not happy about. So they had to go back and forth to where they was able to compromise and show just a little of her butt area and stuff. Since then, she has now covered up in projects, even doing Disney Channel and stuff. But because Hollywood saw her as one way, that's the way they kept typecasting her. And that's going to be the same thing with Sydney Sweeney if Sydney does not put her foot down and be all like, hey, I want people to pay attention to my performance and not my body and everything. All right, let's quickly get through the controversy so I can just never think about it again. So basically, when her career was a rocking and a rolling, she went to like a family birthday party and some people took pictures and put it online. And it's shown that many of her family members, well, pretty much all of them, are hardcore Magna people. And so this outraged a lot of her fans, you know what I'm saying? And so she had to put out a statement talking about like, look, this is my family. I love them. That's their choice. I'm not gonna like, stop being their family member. And so people's like, okay, we get that. But then some people was all like, but she didn't dismiss it either and everything or denounce it and stuff. So nobody knows her political preference and stuff. And personally, she is smart for not letting nobody know which side of the aisle she is on politically and everything. Because that's one of the fastest ways to lose friends, family, lovers, and your fandom and everything. And, and with that and everything, it's kind of odd because it's kind of like you will have people on the left who say, take Tim Allen, right? And so, like, people found out he's mad now. And they didn't like that. But a lot of people on the left still watch his projects and stuff. He's the tool man. He's Buzz Lightyear and everything. They still watch him in those Christmas movies and stuff. Some people just say, whatever. I don't agree with it, but, I've been a fan of his for so long and I'm going to continue to watch it. Whereas other people said, screw him. I'm never watching none of his stuff again. And so that's something she is trying to avoid and something she poked fun at when she was on SNL. Then there was the whole nasty bathwater thing, which is just gross and nasty. I mean, come on, like I get it. You're doing stuff, like she's literally doing this for money when it comes to the advertisements and stuff, as many people do when they do advertisement. I said this before in the past. If you book the right commercial advertisement, you will have money for days and everything. Like that woman Flo from Progressive, I heard she has so much stinking money because she's been doing that for like a decade or a decade and a half. And, so it makes you wonder when you constantly see these same people doing the same advertisement over and over, how much money do they really make? And that's probably why you don't see them in Hollywood. But alas, has come the new controversy, which will not go away no matter what you do online to try not to see it. So I'm on Threads, and this is all you see on Threads. Sydney Sweeney and the American Eagle jean commercial ad. And so people was upset and talking about, first they compared it to World War II German knots and everything. I'm just kind of like, oh Lord, what the heck has happened now? But I'm like, I'm not even going to watch this commercial. I don't have like the time for it and I could care less and everything. And my printer's not working right now. It will not hook up to my internet. I don't know what's wrong with it, and I'm pissed about that. So I'm like, I don't care about no stupid jeans and everything. But then this kept popping up over and over and over and over again. I'm just kind of like, is it really that serious and everything? Like, what the heck is going on? And she hasn't said anything yet about this, which makes it kind of interesting because she was quick about the whole family thing because she was defending her family. But this whole gene thing will not go away, and it's getting worse as the days have passed by. So a bunch of people saw her gene ad and they got upset. Note, the people I saw getting upset on Threads were mostly white women and a couple of black women too, but it was mostly white. And I brought this up, race, for a reason, because this is now turned into a giant race war. This country's never gonna heal, man. I miss the 90s. So anyways, the commercial is once again sexually exploiting Sydney Sweetie. And so like it shows her curves on her hips. It shows like her bust line and her cleavage and her face. And the ad says something about she has good genes. And so when I saw that, I'm all like, okay, I don't get it. But then people started bringing things up to where I kind of like looked a little bit more and I looked a little bit more and it's kind of like, oh, I get it. Yeah. So now you have a bunch of like Okay, first let me talk about why this is pissing people off. So it's basically a dog whistle. I mean, come on, a company that's going to call itself American Eagle, that's about as patriotic as you can get. And they talking about Sydney has like great jeans. Now, maybe, just maybe, they are talking about the jeans that she's wearing. Or some people have taken it like this. She's blonde, she's white, she has blue eyes. Supposedly her boobs are natural, and they saying she has good genes with a G and not a J, her genetics and everything. So some people are kind of trying to say, oh, you're just trying to say that white people have the best genes and blah, blah, stuff like that. Now, normally, if there was a woman of color in that advertisement, nobody would be complaining. But the fact that it is a white woman, and they did say that, and they have a very patriotic name to their brand, it does make you wonder because of the political climate that we are in right now. Right now, everybody hates everybody. Right now, I can't even talk. Right now, it's literally white Republicans against like everybody and everything. And it's getting like worse and worse and worse. And so with that and everything, we know the government has literally said roll back on DEI. And we have seen that in many productions and television and movies and stuff like that. And so we've seen black books getting taken out of schools and bookstores, LGBT books, women books, because it's DEI. Yes, women apply to DEI. It's not just black folks and like LGBT. Okay, I'm back. I had to go pay some bills. Okay, let's see, where was I at? Sydney Sweeney, jeans. Okay, so anyway, she hasn't said anything, but now this has turned into a race war. To where now you have tons of people defending her online, and it's getting political because these people are literally talking about the left this and the left that, and the left always overreact. Man, y'all overreact too, so stop acting like a snowflake. But anyway, you can tell it's getting political because they're constantly saying the libs and the left and the liberals and all this other stuff. And then you have people online who will post a picture of a trans woman or a woman that's like dyes her hair a different color, shaves off one side, have a bunch of piercing, talking about these are the type of women that the left like, but we on the right love Sydney Sweeney. I hate when people do that bull crap, and now they're making it political. They're making it like they're making it worse. And these people are literally these toxic jerks that be online, not the leaders of the toxic fandom and everything. I'm talking about their minions and everything, the ones who feel like they have to represent online and everything. So now they're stirring the pot and they're fighting with people online. So, you know, you have like people of different color, they're fighting back and everything. But now you have people on the right who are these like toxic people bringing Beyonce into this and Brooke Shields. And now they're saying, well, Beyonce's racist because she has blonde hair and she was in the Levi jean ad and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, Lord have mercy, you're making this worse. And there are some people who just wants this to go away. You can tell Sydney Sweeney wants this to go away because she has not said nothing. Every other little controversial thing she's been about, she's been very quick to respond. This one, she has not said nothing as of the recording of this video. But now, of course, politics have gotten into this. Because the White House, and I'm not even joking, now Donald Trump and J.D. Vance have chimed in on this. Donald Trump's talking about, this is why I got elected, because, you know, people on the left and blah, 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 blah. And I don't even know what J.D. Vance said. And it's just kind of like, really, they're taking the time out to comment on this. And it's just making things worse because if this really is a dog whistle about race and everything, they're neglecting the other races and everything. So now it's just making things a million times worse. And now American Eagle has responded to this by saying that, like, you know, the internet's not a real place, and there's like a corner of the internet that's just like whatever. I'm paraphrasing because I'm not at the computer right now. And there's a corner of the other side that like, blah, 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 blah. And 71% people think this is like relatable or something like that. And they don't see nothing wrong with it. And this is supposed to go on to like, what is it, domestic abuse prevention or something like that. And now people are talking about this, and they hope people support like, domestic abuse like awareness. And but then they now have an update talking about something about their comments were taken wrongly by the AE spokesperson and blah, 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 because there was something they said that did sound slightly offensive. And I can't remember exactly what it is. I'll probably just like copy and paste what they said on here, but I can't remember exactly what they're saying. But something about the other side of the internet, something or another. I can't remember what. So this is now causing people to dislike Sydney even more, because most likely she might not have gotten the innuendo of the dog whistle of these jeans and everything, because the jeans company has been around since 1977. But do you ever hear anybody talk about them? No, because that's advertisement for you. Advertisement is always going to try to find a way to get people talking about them. And now everybody's talking about them. So now what they're hoping is that people on like the right and everything will buy their stuff in support of Sydney Sweeney. But did I mention Lizzo yet? Oh, anyway, Lizzo decided to chime in and talking about she's wearing black jeans and in a joking kind of way. And then some Doja Cat or something like that person chimed in on it. I think Azalea Banks chimed in on it. I'm just like, Lord Jesus, have mercy. If anybody's going to chime in on it, let it be white people chiming in on it. Don't let people of color, especially black people, chime in on it, because then that's just going to piss people off more. Just get a white person to be like, this is wrong and blah, 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 and how dare you dog whistle and blah, blah. Let them do that so they can fight amongst themselves, and everything. But she might not have realized what this Jean ad was doing, you know what I'm saying? Because when celebrities take on advertisement, they don't know half the crap they're selling or what it's about and this and that. And, and so a lot of people just don't know. But the problem now is like you got all these like cavemen type people that are like, trying to bait people into this race war, talking about like, oh, you're just mad because she's white. What, she's not allowed to be white? That is not what the argument's even about. And this whole Beyonce thing, like this one dude talking about, boom, baby, like take that and everything. I'm just like, y'all are missing the point and you're changing the narrative and you're lying to push whatever agenda that you want. People are not mad because she's white. She can be as white as she wants to be. The problem is that there's a slight innuendo of like gaslighting about this whole like she has great genes. It's like a play on word of genetics and everything. That is what people are upset about and everything. Because of the simple fact, these mindless people don't want to admit that like their race has been corrupted for many centuries and everything, and have like oppressed other races and stuff. How many times have you heard, people say like, black people look like monkeys and apes. Asian people have squinty eyes. Indian and Arabic people have like big noses and everything. Like, people with crooked teeth, like in Asian countries and stuff. And, Latinos, like, I don't really see nothing about Latinos. And everything. But how many times have you heard that people talking about, oh, they're not beautiful, they don't look good, and like, and talking about how, like, white people are superior than like other people. We have great genetics and everything, and we're better than this race. This is what people are trying to say because it's a small innuendo of that and everything. And so, but these people don't want to, like, accept that, or like try to like figure out what people are trying to say. Instead, they're going on the attack and making this about like race and everything else. I mean, heck, we've seen just recently now, there's a man, I forget what state he lives in America. He has a whites only community. He bought all this acre of land, and he only allows white people to live there. He will not allow nobody else. And his reasoning is because he wants to hold on to his ancestor European heritage and culture and everything. He doesn't want it diluted by wokeness and diversity and everything. So that is about as racist as you can get, and this is going on in America, and he wants to expand into other states and cities. This should not even be allowed in 2025, but apparently there's a whole bunch of stuff in America that people are getting away with nowadays. And if he wants to hold on to European traditions, move to Europe. but that, this is why people are getting pissed about this whole gene thing. They are seeing how this country is turning out. They are seeing how this country is going back in time. And a lot of people don't want to go back in time. But there's a certain group of people that do want to go back in time. And so, like, it's just a huge, like, uproar. And she won't say nothing about this because she wants her money. If she says anything to denounce this or say pull the ad or whatever, then they will pull the ad. She won't get paid. And we all know this. The only reason why she did this is so she can get money. So she has taken the silent treatment on this. But to go back to what I was talking about in the original part of this video, because my video does have a double meaning. See, jeans, my video has like a double meaning. Does she want to have her cake and eat it too? Because it's kind of like, does she want to continue making all these racy ads and everything, and these slightly political charge ads, but then want to come off as the sweet, innocent person who has done nothing wrong and everything? But, she probably just didn't even know really what the ad was about. Maybe she did, and maybe she didn't. We will never truly know, and she will never, ever admit to it and stuff. So with the controversies here and there, and like, advertisement always over sexualizing her, and movies that where she prefers to be more covered up and everything, she really is gonna have to decide what is she gonna do. Like, you know what I'm saying? Is she gonna be this, like, body positive, like, woman who's all like, look, I look great, I know I'm amazing, blah, 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 blah. But hey, look at my acting over here, and look at these other roles I'm doing, I'm really like transforming myself. If she can do that, then like she will be on top of her game, you know what I'm saying? And so, like, she can show people that, hey, I am eye candy, but there's another side to me you just don't know. Kind of like this one adult star. She's done hundreds of thousands of videos, but she can make a birdhouse and everything. And she did that online to show everybody and stuff during the pandemic. And it's just like, you never know. There's another side to people and stuff. And, or is she going to be more like okay, look, I want to be taken seriously, but I do like the money that comes from, like, this sexually exploited, like, side of me. And like, if I stop doing that, then my roles are going to dry up. I mean, look at Jessica Alba. A lot of her roles have dried up because her acting range isn't great, and she doesn't really do the eye candy thing no more. Same thing with Drew Barrymore and stuff. She was controversial back in the day, and she had a wild side to her and sexually exploited as a teenager, and now she's toned herself down and everything. And same thing with Pamela Anderson and everything. And it's just like, at some point, these women, when they start to get older in their 40s, they tend to tone down. But then as they start to tone down, their acting roles start to dry up. So maybe she fears that if she can't take on these sexually roles and everything, then Hollywood's just not going to bang down her door. And if that's going to happen, then where is her career going to go? Are the stuff she's producing herself, are they going to continue? Are they going to do well? Like, if they don't, then where's that extra money going to come from? Like, you know what I'm saying? So this is one of those things she kind of going to have to figure out what exactly she's going to do. Because if she does continue to exploit herself, then, you know, people are going to constantly look at her like that. Hollywood is constantly going to cast her as that. But if she can show people that, hey, I'm the next big thing when it comes to acting, then Hollywood will be all like, hey, there's another side to her we didn't know, and now we should start casting her because of her acting range and everything, you know? Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.